Good afternoon and welcome to the Toronto Transportation Club Connect networking event. Thank you for joining. I trust you're ready for an action-packed hour of learning and connecting. We will have upwards of 200 plus people on this call. We'll have shippers, carriers, and associated partners. My name is Jeff Priest. I work for Bison Transport and I serve on the TTC Board of Directors. I will be moderating the first half of today's event, and Nikisha Rashid of Newcom Media will moderate the breakout rooms that will follow the first half. We couldn't pull this off without some sponsors that have been involved in sponsoring today's event. I'd like to list them. There's 10 of them. Bison Transport, Canadian Tire, Evoke Consulting, Hargraft Insurance, Today's Trucking, Penske Truck Leasing, American Industrial Transport, Aviva Canada, DLT Labs, TrailCon Leasing. So thank you to these sponsors for helping us pull this off and put this event on. So, to be clear, this event is not a webinar where you sit back and listen. This is a networking event. We all know that one of the hardest things to do in a crazy pandemic like we're currently experiencing is to meet new people. Well, today I can guarantee you will meet somebody new, hopefully more than one person. Think of this virtual event as you would an in-person event. Consider it a dinner event that you go to, but without the dinner, or a golf event that you go to, but there's no golf, or a luncheon with no lunch. It's about learning and connecting. So think of your name tag, the name and the company you represent as being your name tag at an event. So make sure that you right click on your name, ensure that your name is there, your company's there, so you can be identified as people see you in the chat and see you on the screen. In order to maximize the networking value of this event, we'd like to encourage you to open up your chat window and use the chat and private message someone that you'd like to start a conversation with. Scroll through the gallery of faces and see if there's someone in there that you recognize from maybe a prior event and say hello through the private chat function. All of this engagement is fair game throughout the entire event, even while the featured speakers are speaking. Who knows? You might meet your next carrier partner. You might meet your next customer. Maybe you'll meet your next employee, or maybe you'll meet your next boss. Who knows? Or maybe it's just a new friend in this great industry we work with them. So, ground rules for today's networking event include cameras on, face masks off, audio on mute for the first half, and then off mute for the networking breakout sessions. We want to see you and we want to hear you during the breakout rooms. The agenda is pretty simple. The first 30 minutes is going to be a high-level look at hot topics in transportation in 2021. We've got featured speakers, experts in their fields. I'll list them off right now and we'll get to them real quick here. We've got representing a shipper, Francis Lalonde, VP of Transportation with Wal-Mart Canada. We've got Kevin Kenny, the Director of Ontario Transportation from McKesson, Canada. Representing the insurance industry, Cynthia Nagamatsu, VP of Commercial Client Services. We have Trevor Fridfinnson, Chief Operating Officer for Bison Transport, and James Zacharias, Assistant Vice President, Domestic Intermodal for CN Rail. Now, there's going to be no deep dives into any particular topic. This is going to be a high-level look at the industry issues, challenges, and opportunities that face us from a shipper's perspective, insurance, and trucking and rail perspective. Unfortunately, we won't have time for Q&A. However, you are absolutely welcome to private message in the chat to any one of our featured speakers, and certainly feel free to ask them a question privately. So this first half hour of our session is going to be just an appetizer for the second half. So Nikisha, I'm going to turn it over to her at about the halfway mark. Nikisha from Newcom Media will lead us through an opportunity to network in breakout rooms. So I trust you are ready for an opportunity to meet somebody new and connect with others in a new and unique way. So that's the agenda, the format. Take a break from your phone, take a break from your email, get ready for an opportunity to learn and connect with others. So Francis, I'm gonna turn it to you to get started with what's on your mind, what are the hot topics, and can you give us a glimpse of what's happening there at Walmart and with other shippers?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Very good introduction and glad to be here. Morning, afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about three things quick today that are on my mind at Walmart currently. One is the importance of removing the number of touches for a customer to shop, and that's the omni-retailing, understanding customer shopping patterns. And the third one is taking care of our folks. So first one is more important than ever. We want to remove the number of touches of customers when they go shop. So less interaction, less often they go out. If they have to go through 10 different stores, different deliveries, they're creating exposure to the virus right now. So we really like to try to get a customer to that one-stop shop, because I think it's the safest way for the customers to shop right now. So if you go to the store, you do grocery home shopping, someone gives you your bag, you put them in the car, you're good. You have an e-com item, you take it out of the tower in the store, put it in your car. You're right there. It's all at the same time. If you need to pick up a general merchandise item that is essential for your home, you go in the store and you do it. So it's one touch. So we feel very, very good about the model right now, more important than ever in being that omni-retailer, because the customers are telling us that that's what they want, because they do not want to have that repetitive exposure. So we have to do everything in our power to be top-notch on service, experience, speed. It's mission critical for all of those items so that we can create that one-stop experience, one-stop shop experience for everybody, and you really give everybody a chance to reduce their exposure to the virus right now. So that's number one. It's very important for us. The second piece is to understand the customer shopping patterns. Oh, is this complicated since about a year? Because it drives them forecast accuracy. What do you plan for? You plan for when, what, where? Everybody remembers the toilet paper madness in retail, right? A couple of months ago. Flour disappearing from the rack. Customer patterns are changing. Folks are not shopping on the weekends anymore because there's more people in the store. They're coming to shop in the week where there's less folks. Also because they're working from home, they might have the opportunity, it might be more convenient for them to shop during the week. So do you flow goods on the Thursday to the stores for the weekend? No, you don't anymore. You have to spread it in the week. When there's an announcement from any of the provincial government, the shopping patterns are all changing. Curfew, lockdown, all those things creates different shopping patterns, right? Like we sell out all the summer stuff last year because folks could enjoy all this camping, all their patio, all those things. Very, very different. We wouldn't do that typically, but we completely set out very, very early. So again, the patterns are changing. How early do you start a season now? You start summer season in this year. Are we going to be in lockdown again for 6 months? Or is the border going to be open? Are people going to be able to travel? Do you take a bet to say, I'm going to open up the summer season earlier because it might be like last year or not? So lots of different customer shopping patterns. Right now, lots of complexity. So more than ever, all of the supply chains on the shipper sides need to have agility. You need to be able to react. You need to be able to do things that you haven't think of before. So you need the agility, you need more precision, and you need a ton of flexibility in the network. So that's the second item. And the last one, I think more important than ever, we have to take care of our people. Kevin is going to touch on the folks in the field that have to go work every day, like my drivers have to do every day. They just have to work. They're essential worker. So I'll touch on the other folks too, because we sometimes forget about those. But the mental health piece is mission critical. I think of all the folks that are working from home. working from home is easy for some folks. It's not for some others. So the mental wellness piece is mission critical for us at Walmart. There's lots of announcement out there with some of the new partnerships that we've launched. It's just mission critical, I think, for all of us, and probably all business combined, to really, really not forget about the folks that are at home, working from home, that are still mission critical for the business. They're just not out there. There's less risk than a worker that has to go out and might be exposed to the virus. But that mental wellness of working from home, Zoom fatigue, the young kids at home, and all the pressure of working from home is very, very important. So it's an important piece for us. We've done a lot of work as a business, and we're going to do even more. And I'm just really, really, I'm proud of the work we've done on this. I think we're going to do more and more and more, and all of us need to do more to look after those folks that are working from home, in some cases in very challenging conditions. And that would be my top three, Jeff, for today.
Well, that's thank you very much, Francis. You guys are an impressive organization, and I know that you speak on behalf of the industry and other retailers as well. Some of the same challenges. So let's go to another shipper, and that is McKesson Canada, and Kevin Kenny, and I'm sure that there's some top of mind pharma or vaccine related challenges that are top of mind for you. So Kevin, why don't you take the floor?
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. As Jeff said, obviously, I'll touch on two things. One is the vaccine distribution. Everybody wants to hear about it. Obviously, a super hot topic, if you will. And then the other thing, as Francis mentioned, I'll touch on is a little bit about driver safety and the things we're seeing in the healthcare sector that we've had to do around that during COVID. So the vaccine portion, obviously, some of the things that everybody's heard about in the media and some of the stuff that's readily available out there. So the Pfizer vaccine, the logistical challenges of moving something at -60 in that case has created certainly a lot of discussion and a lot of creativity, if you will, that we've had to come up with. The Moderna vaccine, the other vaccine in Canada, -20, a little bit more stable, a little bit more familiar to people, but still within its own challenges. The ramp up, everybody wants to know, when is it coming? When are we getting it? The hope is March, April, that things will start to truly ramp up. Obviously, we're seeing some of it come in now. The inbound to Canada portion, it's really being done in two components. So inbound to Canada from Europe with a couple of the big couriers that I'm sure everybody's heard of that are out there. And that's controlled by the federal government. From there, it goes down to a provincial level. And this is where it gets interesting. So navigating those different levels of government, we've even heard stories and been in conversations right down to the municipal level. So as it filters down, you can imagine that gets extremely challenging to work within those different levels of government. And that's certainly something we've had, everybody involved has had to deal with. Security and visibility. The interesting part that certainly I think is obvious, but maybe not so much, is this is not just about physical security at this point. It's about the optics of it and what happens if there is an incident, and making sure that those processes are in place. And what I'll leave you with on the vaccine portion is something that I think everybody in the industry should be proud of, and that's the cooperation amongst different logistics providers. At the end of the day, do we all want to be involved? Yes. Are we all competitive, and do we all want to have a piece of it? Absolutely, we do. But I can tell you from the conversations we've been involved in, really everybody involved has one end game, and that's get it out there to the people who need it as quick as possible. And I think, truly that's something we should be proud of as an industry. On the driver safety side, we do about, with our partners, we do about 9,000 deliveries a day within the healthcare sector. A large amount of those are to high-risk facilities, long-term care homes, hospitals, et cetera. So this has really been something that we've had to put a lot of focus in from a driver perspective in making sure that they're comfortable going into these facilities and the processes are in place, whether it be PPE, whether it be making sure the drivers know that it's okay to have a little bit more time in their day because these processes take more time. But we've also had to make sure that our customers are comfortable, that we as an industry have the appropriate steps in place, that so when our drivers are entering these facilities, they have a comfort level that we're doing the right thing to protect the facility as well. So again, it really goes back to collaboration and cooperation amongst everyone involved to make sure that everybody is safe, comfortable, and that certainly the drivers have what they need to continue to feel comfortable to do that frontline essential work. So that's really the two biggest things that I'll talk about today, and I'll turn it back to Jeff.
Thanks, Kevin. And I'll say it's really, as a trucker, it's reassuring to hear safety-related commentary and concern from two shippers of you and Francis's size and scope, and so appreciate that. And if anybody on the call is interested in knowing on when their turn will be for a vaccine, I think you could message Mr. Kevin Kenny. He might be able to schedule you in early. Who knows? Let's turn to the topic of insurance. So Cynthia Cynthia Nagamatsu from Hargraft Insurance is with us. Cynthia, I know you've got some interesting perspectives to share. Why don't you take the floor next?
Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Cynthia Nagamatsu and your outgoing president for the Toronto Transportation Club for 2020, and currently vice president for commercial client services here at Hargraft. So it's my absolute pleasure to join you today at this TTC network event to talk to you about some hot topics in the transportation sector that certainly relate to the insurance. And today I'm going to talk to you about the pandemic, the hard market, the ongoing hard market, the important role that your broker can play in your insurance program, and your auto liability exposures. So unfortunately, the pandemic has impacted so many sectors of industry, as we all know, watching the news, and certainly some of the industries that have been impacted, or some of the lines of coverage that have been impacted, relate to directors and officers liability as a result of the rise in insolvencies, as well as cyber liability. As everyone is teleworking, there has been quite a spike in ransom claims. Overall, the insurance industry has been going through the hardening of the market since 2017. Some clients certainly didn't feel it in the 2017, but certainly, with the collapse of the excess markets in 2018, December 2018, 2019 and 2020 have been challenging years, impacting pricing for all of our clients. Sadly, some, and there may be some more, will find that their insurance will become a business-threatening issue for the first time. This is by far the hardest market that I've seen in my 33-year career. And certainly I know it's very challenging for those of you in the trucking market. The collapse of the excess market is only one of the many reasons that the transportation market is facing a hard market, which has also given rise to what they call a limit increase. So what we're seeing is an increase in auto liability exposures as well throughout the US and Canada, and right here in our own backyard, Ontario has become quite a hot spot as it relates to litigation arising out of auto liability exposures. So right now, I really encourage all of you to gain a better understanding of your auto liability exposures, and managing those exposures will positively impact your program, thereby allowing you to improve your business, elevate your safety culture. And your broker can be an absolute valuable asset to you during your business at this time and the challenges that we're facing. Let me tell you, there are 3 ways that your broker can certainly help you. And that is, number 1, to develop a renewal strategy. At Hargraft, we look at the renewal as not a one-time event. Your insurance program is an ongoing process. And it's important that if your broker has not already become one of your trusted advisors, that you're engaging them to bring them on board as a trusted advisor and meet with you on a regular basis. So meeting with your broker on a regular basis has become quite important health for the for your culture, and certainly It allows you to look at various things regarding your program, your claims, and understanding those auto liability exposures. I mean, what does that exactly mean? You know, we're living in a very litigious hellhole. The environment that we all drive in today is not what it was many years ago. And it's really important to harness an understanding around those exposures. So at Hargraft, we make our processes very strategic. We're very planned about talking to our clients about auto liability exposures, helping them understand what they are, and helping them mitigate their future losses, which all tie back to your loss run and invariably then tie back to your insurance. So that is one way that your broker can also help you. And then finally, you know, engaging with a broker that really understands safety. And safety is an entire cycle, many parts of them, you know, all clients particularly do have, you know, a process, a program, but really understanding what exactly can you do to improve your safety that directly ties back to your experience and your renewal is what I've developed over the years with my clients and call it my proven driven value program. So your broker can become a trusted advisor and play an important role in protecting your business and improving your bottom line. So my goal obviously is to align myself with clients who are like-minded and certainly encourage you to engage your broker. So if your broker's not engaging you, and if you have any questions following this program networking event, I certainly would welcome an opportunity to speak to you, but really appreciate you listening, and hopefully we get to meet each other in one of the breakout rooms. Thanks for joining. Thank you to the Toronto Transportation Club for putting on this event. Stay safe, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Cynthia. That's very interesting perspective from the insurance side. And although at least I don't tend to think of insurance as particularly exciting or trending, it's absolutely critical, as you correctly state, for an asset-based or even non-asset-based operation to consider. So let's turn to truck transport and logistics. We've got Chief Operating Officer for Bison on the line here, Trevor Fridfinnson. Trev, I think you've got some interesting hot topics for 2021 that are being considered. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, and good to be with you. I'm coming from Calgary, Alberta, so we'll call it the western outpost of the Toronto Transportation Club. So appreciate the inclusiveness. From the carrier perspective, I'd highlight three issues that are top of mind. Number one, enabling the customer. Number two, looking after the driver or owner operator. And thirdly, M&A activity in the space. As it relates to the client's perspective, obviously we heard it from Francis and Kevin. We're in volatile times in terms of how freight moves and what the priorities are and how those things get looked after properly. And so, number one top of mind thing for a carrier still has to be, how do you look after the core of business as it relates to the client and be nimble and responsive to their needs. But I'll also highlight a second part of it as well, is that it has created a period of time where everything is on the table in terms of looking at how do we do business together, how do we drive efficiencies into our operation. And when we all sort of consider we do business in a lot of ways differently today than we did before, how can that apply to the relationships around moving freight? We've got some good examples of that happening, with a couple of people involved on this call, even with the folks at DLT Labs and Wal-Mart and ourselves, figuring out ways to improve process and make some parts of the business just go smoother. I think there's also opportunity in that vein in terms of how we transact together and how do we really make that work better. I'll give a small example where we've got 200 or so clients set up on third-party visibility platforms that frankly have not fully lived up to their promise in terms of how well we can use these things to streamline our operations and deliver smarter solutions to each other. So I think things like that are going to be important in the year ahead, and say how do we really leverage some of those things to greatest effect. Logistics is in a spotlight as much as it's ever been, probably through this period, and the general public really recognizes the importance of it being done properly, and that's certainly the opportunity that we have as carriers to figure that part out with our customer partners. Secondly, on the driver and owner operator front, it's a long held piece of knowledge around the value and the difficulty in this role, and people making careers out of this, and feeling that it's a good, safe, respectable living to make, and that their time is valuable. We're investing a lot of time and energy in really reinforcing that concept, and say, how do we make better use of the time that our drivers and owner operators give us, and how do we combine our efforts again with our customers to say, here's how we can really take out some of the things that are friction in the system, and make it harder to do a job that's already too difficult. So big highlight on that. Related to it, I would say the ELD mandate, which has been pretty well publicized, that is going to go ahead in Canada in this summer. Going to further accentuate the issues around this, and who can use the driver's time the best is going to obviously be in the right position to attract and then be able to serve with them. So the ELD piece, for additional perspective, when we saw that go into the US, it had a profound impact on the market in combination with maybe some other things that were going on. Whether that's going to be felt in Canada as pronounced in translating into a shortage of capacity, I think is a pretty live question. But I don't think there's any doubt that what it does do is it shines a light to ensure that people are operating properly and leveling out the playing field, if you will, which we certainly endorse and think is positive. How exactly that plays out, I think, is going to be up for debate. If you go on to FP Innovation's website, as I did the other day, and they have a list of how many of the ELDs are certified now to be in use in Canada for this upcoming deadline. The list right now has 0 names on it, and there is many that are in active steps in getting their devices certified, but there's obviously lots of moving parts to happen in the next 3 or 4 months in order for the deadline to be realized. So we'll watch out for that. Finally, on the M&A front, there was commentary around it was a quieter 2020 for obvious reasons, probably in terms of how much of that activity occurred in the transportation space. I think 2021 is started out with some more activity there. You certainly saw with Canada Cartage doing some things, and ourselves being involved in our first change of shareholder. So I would say the look ahead would be there's likely to be more of that. And even for the ones that have taken place in recent years, probably some more working through what the final outlook for those respective entities are. We're a mature industry with a lot of pressure points, many of which have been highlighted on this call already. And all that would lead us to think that more consolidation and search for best practice and efficiencies amongst the core providers is likely to happen. And Jeff, that would be it from the West.
Lots of hot topics in truck transportation for sure. So thanks for sharing some of those, Trevor. Let's round this section of our event out by hearing from the rail partner CN. James Zacharias, you've got the floor to finish this part of it out.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes, James Zacharias, Canadian National Railway, speaking to you today from my CN office in Winnipeg in our TransX terminal. The topics today, essential product demand and its impact on the rail capacity, and I'll talk quickly about some import demand as well. But first of all, I thought Cynthia's topic on insurance was very appropriate. Definitely a big impact on the truckers out there, double-digit percentage increase in premiums, but it's also a big impact on the railway. On our costs. I think what everybody can expect there, especially dangerous goods and hazmat shippers, expect some additional charges, optional service charges or premiums in that respect, as well as general freight rates are going to have to mitigate some of this cost. 2020 was an unprecedented year. Everybody's heard that. Everybody knows that. It certainly was from an essential product standpoint: food, pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, toilet paper, you name it. It was flying off the shelves early in the year, and it has definitely continued to keep very strong demand all the way through 2020. And what we're thinking is, going into 2021, like Francis said, there's like a lot of uncertainty still. Will the border open? Will the vaccine get distributed quick enough? Are we going to be able to see things go back to their old normal? We think that essential services or essential products are still going to be a very, very important piece of the supply chain. CN is doing everything they can to make sure that they prioritize essential services with their equipment, which means more refrigerated equipment and heated equipment. The challenge is just with the non-essential volume and the volumes in that area going up and down as the pandemic opens and closes. And certainly here in Manitoba, we've been locked down, but it's just starting in Eastern Canada, how the volumes are going to be impacted on the non-essential side. It's creating some tension in terms of are we going to be able to invest in more capital, invest in more heaters, invest in more reefers? It looks like that's what's required. There'll probably be some pressure on some of the rates to make sure that the non-essentials are paying for themselves, or the essentials are paying for themselves, and the non-essentials are going to be certainly watched very carefully. So expect a lot more essential product shipping to be the main thing in 2021. Forecasts are extremely important. Everybody that has some impact on a forecast, let your supply chain partner know, let your railway know, to make sure that we know what you've got coming down the pipe. One thing I can say, our domestic trains at the start of the year were around 35-39% essential services, and we saw by August how the freight that was on the train was actually closer to 70 or 72% of all freight being essential. On the import side, demand since the Asian manufacturing had opened up about 8 months ago has been extremely strong and continues to be strong. I know last year we were looking at about 37 blank sailings on the books for Q1. This year so far, what's on the books is only about 4. And all the steamship lines are trying to actually put more freight on the water, and it's getting to North America, especially the West Coast, and seeing a lot of delays. Our Canadian West Coast ports are about a 4 to 7 day delay before they can get into port. A little further south, Long Beach, it's 15 plus days. So we're waiting for them to want to bring their ships north. The challenge is that we're full. There really isn't a lot more capacity to be had from the import side. So if we're looking for more freight coming from Asia, I know that you can expect some significant delays, and hopefully 2021 starts to soften somewhere towards the middle of the year, but expect delays right throughout. Jeff, back to you.
Thanks, James. You used the word essential a couple of times there, and I think that's taken on a whole new meaning, that word. And so it'd be interesting to poll this group and find out how people view the word essential. Thank you to all of our featured speakers for the hot topics you've presented in the various industries. It was interesting that of all of those hot topics, the change in leadership that occurred yesterday about 24 hours ago did not get mentioned. So if things get a little dry in the breakout rooms, talk about that. I'm sure that somebody's got something to say. I'm going to turn it over to Nikisha now for instructions on how we work through the breakout rooms. So Nikisha, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you to all of our speakers for connecting with us today. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Nikisha Rashid. I'm with Today's Trucking Magazine, and I'm going to lead us through our networking portion of today's event. So the first thing I would like to say is don't worry about anything that you have to do. You don't have to do anything on your part. You just sit back, hang tight, relax, and get ready for some fun, because we are taking care of everything on our end. So how it's going to work is we are going